This day, the 13th of February, 2023, Okay, just before I proceed, if I can check if members can hear us. I thought somebody would just click got it so that this thing can go away there. Why is it difficult to just do that? Honorable Suela, can you hear us?
Yes, Chairperson, I can hear you well.
Honorable Suela, can you hear us?
Chairperson, I can hear you well. Chairperson, can you hear me? It's Honorable Swell.
There's the only member I can see. It looks like yes, she is unmuted, but we can't hear her. Honorable Gondwe.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair.
Can you hear us, Honorable Gondwe?
Yes, I can, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we just see your lips moving. Don't know where they are moving to. Well, we have a problem. Let's try and sort that out. We've got an audio issue now. Let's sort that out first and then we'll start again.
Recording stopped.
And colleagues, I was saying welcome everybody to today's continued inquiry on this day of the 13th of February 2023. As we resume our inquiry, I want to welcome all the honorable members here at M46 and on the virtual platform. I also want to welcome the public protector here with us at M46. I don't see the legal team who will hear that. I also want to acknowledge and welcome the evidence leaders, Advocate Bawa and Mayosi at M46 with us, to acknowledge members of the media, our entire support staff, as well as the citizens of this country joining us in the inquiry in your YouTube and 408, welcome to our inquiry. Today the inquiry resumes as the program would have indicated, to get into our program, back into our program. We're supposed to have a witness with us, which will be introduced later, and I hope the witness would have joined as well. But before we go to that point, there are some preliminary issues that we need to attend that seem to have come in our way, which relate to the kind of correspondence that as a chair would have had with the public protector. Honorable members would be aware that we restarted this year on the 30th, and a day or two thereafter, some concerns were brought to my attention. There would have been a whisper to me about some difficulties in issues of payment for the public protector. I would have requested that whisper to be put in writing, which did happen immediately. The committee is aware that when we last met on the 1st of February, we would have tabled those difficulties. Once the matter was brought to my attention as a chair, we would have sent an agent and a brief correspondence to the PPSA for clarities. Tembengosi Ngoma and Ms. Fatima Ibrahim will quickly take us through and share that trail of correspondence, so that we start with that and get that out of the way. But I'm immediately demonstrating that once this issue was brought to our attention, we acted swiftly and would have given the PPSA a deadline of the 6th of February to respond to everything else, which they were able to respond the day after, even well before that 6th of February. But I'm going to ask both Ms. Fatima Ibrahim and Tembengosi Ngoma to share with us, take us through quickly that journey of correspondence. And after that, I'm going to be inviting the PP who would also have sent correspondence this morning to come into the picture as well. So bear with us as we deal with quickly these preliminaries. Ms. Ibrahim.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to all the members on the platform and the colleagues. Chair, I'm just going to do a very high-level overview of what's transpired in respect of the issue of the alleged non-payment to the PP's legal team. Members will recall that when we last updated members, we had said that on the 31st of January, when we were engaged in the hearing of that day, we had received correspondence that came from the PP personally, indicating her unhappiness with the fact that her legal team has not been paid, and the challenges that was experiencing in securing this payment from the PPSA. On the same day, Chair, you issued an urgent instruction to us to immediately follow up with the PPSA, which we did in writing, and we addressed them a letter and gave them a period of 3 or 4 days by which to respond to us. But Chair, as you correctly said, the very next day on the 1st of February, they had already responded, and they explained that the delays were due to discrepancies in some of the invoices, and that they were doing a verification process before they would be in a position to make payment. And they also indicated that payments totaling approximately 8.2 million were paid on 3 different dates: 14 September, 22 October, and 22 November. And of this 8.2 million, approximately 2.8 was in relation to costs incurred as part of this inquiry. So presumably the rest had to do with the ongoing litigation processes. The letter then also stated that there was an undertaking that they would pay 33% of the outstanding fees as per invoices that were submitted on 13th December, and that they were going to endeavour to pay this by the 2nd of Feb. So the invoices that are now in contention, and that brings us to the stage where we're now in, are the ones submitted in December for work done in August and September in respect of the juniors, and as I understand it, work for Advocate Mpofu until 6th of December. So there is an appearance of a delay in submitting that invoices. So Sianejo would have submitted those invoices to the PPSA. Be that as it may, Chair, on 6th of February rather, we then wrote a letter to the PP where we attached a copy of the correspondence that we had received from the CEO. We reiterated our position that the Chair and the committee cannot interfere in the internal procurement processes of the PPSA, but that we had urged the CEO to take every effort that she can to ensure that the matter is resolved and that the team is paid for services duly rendered, subject, of course, to any of their financial prescripts. On the same day, Chair, we also sent a letter to Mr. Sianejo, informing him on arrangements that needed to be made in respect of the last batch of witnesses, because we are at the tail end now. We confirmed the appearance of Ms. Bianca Mvuyana for today. And this, Chair, followed earlier WhatsApp communication between myself and the PP's legal team, where I confirmed on 4th of February that she had been duly summoned. So the summons had been served and that she would be appearing today. The evidence leaders then, Chair, also requested a backroom.
Just a pause. You seem to have frozen there. Let me check if members can hear you. Honorable Suela, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, Chair. I can hear everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you're a sharpshooter. Thank you. We just saw Mr. Ibrahim frozen. We thought we kind of lost you, but we will proceed. Apologies, Ms. Ibrahim.
No problem, Chair. As I said, the evidence leaders had requested a backroom meeting, and that was requested for Thursday, the 9th of February, because members may or may not be aware, but we were in court last week for the hearings on the review. So that was on Tuesday and Wednesday last week, and so this request was for Thursday. On Thursday, Chair, a meeting was eventually held at 3:30 p.m. It was attended by myself on behalf of Parliament, the evidence leader, and the
Thursday of which date? I normally operate on the date.
on the SONA date.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I attended on behalf of Parliament. The Secretariat was engaged with SONA, and the evidence leaders attended as well. And Chair, during that meeting, Advocate Mpofu indicated that he's attending as a courtesy, and that they had received no instructions because of the payment issue. There was some confusion, and we did ask whether their mandate had been terminated, and Advocate Bauer attempted to put the question to Ms. Nafisa Patel from Sianejo, but Advocate Mpofu indicated that she wouldn't have an answer. In any event, Chair, because they had now indicated that they had not been paid, I then excused myself from the meeting and I placed an urgent phone call with the CEO, and the CEO confirmed that 33% had indeed been paid that day, but that due to some issues with the financial systems, it hadn't been paid earlier. So it was paid on this day now when we were in this meeting. I was able to confirm that. She also indicated that a further amount and a second tranche would be paid the next day, which would be Friday, 10th of Feb, and that would bring it to approximately 74% of monies owed. Chair, in that meeting, we should have obviously discussed the program and so on, but because the legal team had indicated that they don't have instructions and that they weren't able to prepare that entire week because of the non-payment issue that was then
Just
locked down.
pause. Let's ask Tebingosi to not converse aloud up there to compete with Mr. Ibrahim here. Go ahead.
Chair, but my understanding from the meeting was that if the undisputed amounts were paid, then the team would be in a position to proceed. The team also indicated that they had difficulty getting hold of Ms. Mvuyana. So I then followed up with a text message to her indicating that the PP's team would like to get hold of her. And she mentioned that she was ill, but she was then back in office. And I shared her phone number with the team, and I shared Ms. Patel's number with Ms. Mvuyana as well. And Advocate Mpofu then responded to my message when I informed them of saying that hopefully everything will now work out and a full report will be given. Chair, we also took it upon ourselves to share with Ms. Mvuyana documents in the committee's possession that may be relevant to her testimony, because members will be aware that she has not submitted a statement. So that was all done that same afternoon. Chair, during the meeting, we were told that we can expect a letter from the PP. And indeed, that letter came in shortly after that meeting was adjourned. And it again was a letter that we received from the PP personally, indicating that because her team had not been paid, she would not be in a position to give them instructions, and that she would appear alone today in order to explain the situation to the committee. Chair, that letter was received after I had already confirmed with the PPSA that the 33% had been paid, and that a further balance was going to be paid the next day, which would amount to the 74% rather of the amounts owing. Chair, on the 10th of Feb, which would have been on Friday, I alerted the PP's team that the approximately 2.1 million was paid the day before, being the 33% now, and that a further amount was being processed as we speak, and that was in the morning. I then also shared the draft program, which again, of course, notes that Ms. Mvuyana is scheduled to appear for today. On the same day, Chair, we addressed a further letter to the PP indicating that the first tranche was paid and that the second tranche would be paid, and that would then amount to the 74% of the outstanding fees. And we also indicated in that letter that the team should be prepared to question Ms. Mvuyana as she was summoned on the request of the PP and had in fact appeared on her first witness list and then subsequently her confirmed witness list for some months already. We indicated further, Chair, that the non-consultation with Ms. Mvuyana would not be an impediment, as there were clearly questions that the PP wished to put to her. And members will recall that in respect of Ms. Mvuyana, there was a written application to summons her, which set out the matters on which the PP wanted to question her. Chair, I must note that at some point, Advocate Mpofu had raised concerns that because the first witness list was made public, and you'll recall that that witness list, even though it was never marked confidential, it was at some point shared, and there was a complaint received about that witnesses were now reluctant to appear. We then did in writing offer our assistance and asked for proof of what had transpired, which witnesses were now not wanting to appear voluntarily, and asking how we could assist, but we never received any request in that regard to assist the PP. Chair, we then also indicated in that letter that you had instructed Advocate Bauer to iron out logistics with Advocate Mpofu for the coming week. Later that day, Chair, I received proof of payment from the PPSA of approximately 3.3 million, which was now the second tranche after the first tranche was made the day before. I sent that immediately to the team. And then also in the course of the day, Tem Nkosi had also sent an email to CNEGO asking whether the mandate had been terminated. They indicated it has not been, and he also reminded them that Ms. Mvuyana was due to appear today. Chair, on Saturday, Advocate Bauer had an opportunity to speak to Advocate Mpofu, who indicated, as I understand, that they were not in a position to proceed today because they had not had, or Advocate Bauer perhaps can clarify that point. I'll let her speak to it. Chair, but in terms of the committee process, Chair, we had not received any correspondence or application for a postponement or adjournment or anything of the sort. Until this morning, Chair, after 9, we received a letter from the PP on this issue of the payment, which, as I understand, Chair, you're going to give the PP an opportunity to put her letter on record. But before she does so, Chair, perhaps we can just ask Advocate Bauer to confirm what happened with her discussion with Advocate Mpofu on Saturday, as that was not a formal backroom meeting.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ibrahim, for walking us through that correspondence journey. Advocate Bauer.
Chair, without going into the details, Advocate Mpofu was not in a position to tell me what the position of his team would be. I didn't understand him to have a difficulty. I understood his team to be having a difficulty, and that he was in Cape Town for personal reasons. He was going back to Johannesburg and he would liaise with his team. I had hoped to hear from him before then, but that hadn't materialized. So it's only this morning that I discovered that they're not here. To do that.
Okay, no, thank you for that small addition. I'll now take this opportunity so that we don't deal with hearsay. I have received a letter at 9 this morning from the public protector. I think instead of me just explaining what the letter says, it's only fair that we allow the public protector to just quickly take us through that correspondence so that we complete the entire picture. Over to you, Advocate Mvuyana.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning to the committee members. Chairperson, in fact, good morning to the evidence leaders, to the Secretariat. Thank you for giving us this opportunity, or me this opportunity, to come and present. But firstly, Chairperson, let me start by thanking you for your assistance in this matter. But I wonder whether to say, this Chairperson Uguti, was it necessary for even us to even write to you to intervene when people have the responsibility to do their part? So yes, I confirm that we wrote to you on the 31st of January after it has come to my attention that my legal team's invoices were not paid. Actually, what happened is that invoices since the start of the inquiry in July have only been paid by the council. In fact, which only the council teams was paid for July, was paid in October 2022. So it was possibly 2-3 months after. So there were invoices for August and September, which have been submitted either end of November, beginning December, which have not been paid. So now the issue is my legal team, having had to spend December holidays, have not been paid. The schools were opening, they have not been paid. And unfortunately in South Africa, we have the challenge of a curse of a middle class. I think we all know people have bonds to pay, people have cars to pay. And this is done regrettably by the officials or the institution which is investigating maladministration and undue delay, which we have laws where we are continuously violating of paying any service providers within 30 working days. And we are investigating institutions for failing to do that, but we are doing that ourselves. So there has been instances where my legal team would then say, we've been promised, we spoke to Mr. Van der Merwe, we even escalated to the CEO, and they are promising that they will be paying. But unfortunately, Chairperson, is that my legal team informed me that a letter was received then from PPSA. I mean, if you receive an invoice as a state institution and you pick up, actually within the first week, as much as they've responded to you the following day, they should have done that by the 6th of December, or especially because this is a very important process and they would want to eliminate any delays and any accusations from either party that the process is being delayed. They should have checked that within a week, and they should have identified those discrepancies. They've managed to pay in October for the July to invoice, and they should have made sure to the legal team and Sianeho, this is what we accept, this is what we don't accept. Now they come back with those discrepancies weeks or months after that has been submitted. And I understand, Chairperson, when you say you won't interfere in the internal processes, but remember, Chairperson, again, I'll remind you, as the portfolio committee member, it's your responsibility to make sure that you hold us to account as public institutions, because PFMA is very clear, which we shouldn't be violating. And the question is, why didn't you make sure that you return those things back? You don't just keep them, because when you are audited, it doesn't help for you to come back and say, well, there's these mistakes which we've picked up. So indeed, Chairperson, with your intervention, you sent the letter to us, and where they were explaining PPSA and the very same fact that the candidate attorney who's paid how. And it's concerning, Chairperson, that they tell you Ms. Ibrahim is saying 8 million was paid, only so much was going to the legal team, which you should also ask them to account, because if they were able to pay the very same attorneys and the directors of that Van der Merwe and so, which they've sent to the High Court, where they were not supposed to even participate, and 3 times sending legal counsel which were not participating in the High Court, where they were not even parties to the matter. That's issue of accountability, which they were supposed to, and you'll find that they've been paid, those people, but they are failing to pay the very same important legal team, which the committee and the parliament know that they should be paid for the work which has been done. So I don't know whether that is done to punish me further, Chairperson, because you'd find that other legal teams are being paid. 8 million who has been paid, and now these ones are not paid. And why must they beg the legal team? Why 33%? And then after the intervention of the Chairperson and Fatima, you have to pick up a call. You've got your responsibilities. We've got an accounting officer of an institution who's supposed to make sure that no one must pick up a call and ask people to be paid. Now we coming here, you speak about 74%. Is it fair? People who stayed the whole Christmas, and children and bonds which are in arrears and interest. Now it's as if now paying 74%, it's as if doing people a favor. Why not pay 100%? They even refuse to sit with the team to discuss all those nitty-gritties and resolve all those issues. The 30%, which they are saying it's a mistake. How can you ask an advocate or a junior counsel, what were you doing for this particular day? People like them, they are just sitting, having this brief on this particular matter around Busisiwe Mkhwebane and her legal issues. But then you're questioning, why do you have a day when the committee was not sitting? Because when you prepare, it doesn't matter whether the committee is sitting or not. Coming to the issue of Bianca, yes, Ms. Ibrahim, I'll just mention directly, because you are mentioning the issue that she was in our first list, and all along we knew. But I think as well, being legally qualified, you, or in any process, maybe in labor relations, you wouldn't want to have somebody coming in and just saying you don't know what they are going to be saying. You need to sit with a person and understand, okay, are we together, and are these the issues? Do you know about them? So that we don't have a witness coming here and we don't know what they are going to say. Unfortunately, there have been communications with her, but all of a sudden she was unreachable to be available. And indeed, there were threats to some of the witnesses. I don't know, when you say you want proof, Chairperson, we can have or you can have a meeting, especially with the legal team, the evidence leaders, and you unpack all these issues. We then, I don't think it's matters which we'll have to just publicly speak about them, because there are comments which are made. There are witnesses who were willing to come, but then when comments are made and there were threats where people were saying, I'm going to lose my job, or I'm losing my contract, the legal team, some of them, some institutions have pulled out from them. So that's how bad the situation is. So I think, Chairperson, if the PPSA was able to be just frank and open to you, and I think being the chairperson and also holding us to account as state institutions, that should frankly be discussed, because you cannot just come back 3 days of, in fact, after 30 days, which we know that we demand institutions or service providers to be paid within 30 days. But then the SC is online as well. He can answer some of the questions. And indeed, he's somebody who says, I can do anything, but unfortunately is working with a team. And unfortunately, our responsibilities are not the same. And the fact that we were in court, or it's as if people didn't have, or we giving excuses that they didn't prepare. It's a question of making sure that people, they do the work openly, they are paid, they are happy to come in and do the work. And it's so frustrating that the very same people who are doing this every month, they are being paid. Contrary to even what the president said, that I'm entitled to all the full benefits. This is part of that after the Constitutional Court has pronounced on this matter. So thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Public Protector. Maybe just to complete your presentation, because I would have picked that in your letter, maybe for the benefit of members and everybody. You've not indicated, because you did indicate in the letter, the difficulty we have today, so that if you can complete that and explain why you are alone here today, so that's put on record.
Okay.
Perhaps also if you can just indicate if your attorneys of record are also online, Sianego, with us. And thirdly, as I indicated, once, and I'll make this point because it's significant, once a whisper was shared with me, I immediately acted and said, let's formalize this. And you did immediately. But the issue is, you did not, if a lot of this was not happening in December or November, were you of the view that you were going to succeed? Was it was never raised with the committee then, or myself, and so that we get clear there are no blame game that are going to be pushed into this. If by December these submissions were made to the PPSA, because it looks like the December period took its toll. Hence, in January, you were able to raise the issues with myself as a chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Chairperson. Apology for not going through the letter which I've sent this morning. So I then also referred to a letter of 6 February, and where you were responding to my letter. And I'm saying in this letter, please be advised that soon after you address the issue with the PPSA, they then send an email to my attorney, Sianego, attaching the spreadsheet that they had promised my legal team. Though I must emphasize that the spreadsheet only came a week after the promised date. The spreadsheet raises some queries on the part of the attorney's fees and also on the counsel's fees. Like to PPSA letter, it hardly clarifies the reasons for PPSA's failure to honor the obligations of the legal team. So I am informed by counsel team that the PPSA only raised 9 queries as far as their invoices are concerned. I'm further advised that the very same queries had been raised and resolved in July 2022. Hence, they paid the first invoice. At that point, Mr. Van der Merwe had informed my team that since he was still new on the position, he would like to liaise with Mr. Sithole to get clarity. Mr. Van der Merwe then indeed got clarity from Mr. Sithole, and he then approved the invoices of the council team. However, he did not pay my attorney's fees, which really disturbed me because my attorney bears most of the disbursements, such as printing, bundles, accommodation, correspondence fees, etc., which he pays from his own pocket. It therefore raises suspicion that the same issues which were resolved in respect of council after which their earlier invoices were duly paid are being re-invoked as excuses to justify the present delays. My council team conversed with the CEO and requested her to hold the amounts concerning the 9 queries in abeyance and pay the rest of the invoices. The issues raised do not even make up 10% of the invoices. There is therefore no reason not to pay the undisputed 90% or more of the invoices in the meantime. Further, PPSA had promised that they will be in the meantime pay the merely 33% of the invoices by the 2nd of February. They informed my attorney that they would send him proof of payment on the same day that payment would be effected. It is very regrettable that Mr. Van der Merwe keeps on shifting the goalposts. As we speak, the legal team has still not been paid. In fact, it was not paid immediately on the 2nd, Fatima. I think you had to intervene. If you check, it was again another goalpost which was shifted. So I must express upon you that it seems clear that either Mr. Van Merwe or the CEO, they don't understand the scope of the job and the working or practicing lawyers. Some of the plainly upset and queries which they are raising, and at least with the council team, include, for example, why do council charge preparation fees when the committee is not sitting? I mean, that's very clear. So why they charge a day fee when the committee did not run beyond the normal day? I mean, if a person is sitting here and is only focusing on this matter, it's very clear that indeed they will have to focus on those issues. So those were some of the issues which I raised. So there is a letter which I've sent this morning, and in that letter, I then further clarified, Chairperson, to you that unfortunately, even the issue of Ms. Mvuyana, because I must also indicate that okay, so I'm repeating in the letter that Ms. Ibrahim contacted the CEO and then they paid. I'm most pleased to hear Ms. Ibrahim that she has now received proof of payment from for Sianejo in the amount of 2 million, which was paid, and was either informed that an amount of 3.3 is currently being processed and that 74% will be paid. As such, I look forward to seeing you on Monday. So I was saying today I'll be here, but then unfortunately, without being able to find the witness, finally finding the witness after the intervention of Ms. Ibrahim, and as well the refusal by PPSA to meet with the legal team, because I think if all these issues can be resolved and the legal team will focus on preparations and on this matter instead of also looking for issues to be sorted out and the payments to be done. So I think, Chairperson, this today, the SC is here to clarify issues online, and the issue of proceeding, I think the best way is to get your guidance and to also then agently meet with, maybe be the mediator, either yourself or you delegate somebody to sit with the legal team, secretariat. I don't know whether evidence leaders if necessary, but anyway, I don't think it impacts on them. It impacts on my legal team, And this is agently resolved because there's still invoices for October to December. So it means the same thing will be happening, so that once and for all, these issues are resolved, unless PPSA then comes and say they don't have resources, they are waiting for the new financial year. But that should have been clear, instead of promising people and you don't do what is supposed to be done. So I hope you find this in order, Chairperson.
Thank you, PP. That's certainly in order. You've just not indicated if Sianego has joined you today online or not, or maybe you have not picked that up. Maybe we need to check that. I will certainly give a guidance towards the end on all of these issues, so that I don't just confine the meeting to myself as a chair. Members, you have listened to Ms. Fatima Ibrahim, as well as the PP, explaining, walking us through this correspondence. Before I have a brief interaction and recognizing Ms. Mvuyana, and then give guidance thereafter about what we're doing, can I briefly invite members, if you want to just have a quick interaction on this. I see Honorable Walangola sitting alone here at M46 with the chair. For that, she will be number one on the list. Anybody else on the virtual platform besides Honorable Ngola? No, nobody. Over to you, Honorable Ngola.
Thank you very much, Chair, and indeed let us welcome all these presentations. And I wish, Chair, that we are clear that this case we're dealing with is a case, PP, of your legal team operating under protest, not instructions having been withdrawn. I wanted to go on record, because from what the evidence leaders and Ms. Fatima are presenting, we are getting different signals. So I wish that it be confirmed on record. The second issue, Chair, another part that I don't get is, in this remaining or outstanding amounts that have not been paid, what then is the commitment? Because I expect that if the PPSA says we have approved your invoices, we have paid this particular amount, outstanding is this particular amount, therefore this outstanding fee is going to be payable within this particular time. But from what I'm hearing, nothing that speaks to what is then the commitment in respect to that. I think, Chair, for now, I just wanted to get clearly, because sometimes we get different signals, sometimes we get sketchy details, and so if that can be properly made for us to understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Ngola. Honorable Hanif Hendricks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I'm not only concerned about the outstanding payments, but also about future payments that may raise its head again and take up a lot of time of this inquiry. I was at a meeting of the Justice Portfolio Committee where the acting public protector presented, and it was quite clear to Al Jamal that the cost of this hearing has bankrupted the public protector's office, and they can't continue doing their work, and they may have to close down. So there is something wrong with the funding policy, especially where entities such as the public protector can't anticipate such costs which they haven't budgeted for. So going forward, it is quite clear that as we speak, the public protector doesn't have any money to pay and will have to get financial assistance elsewhere. And secondly, going forward, Chair, you also mentioned that this is a learning curve for all of us. It cannot be that when an employer, like the public protector in this case, has to pay the legal fees of one of its employees, that the tap is unlimited and that it can result in what is happening now. So here's a clear example of the fact that you cannot expect an employer to close down shop just to pay the legal costs of one of its employees. So there's something that we will have to learn from this case. And I hope there's not going to be future cases, but if it does arise, it is a major problem. It cannot be, Chair, that there must be an unlimited tap that flows all the time, and this is now the public purse to fund the costs of an employee that the employer has to pay the legal costs. They obviously, in future, if I am required to do so, will say there must be a limit. And in many hearings of this nature, we find that employees have to pay their own costs. And we have been very generous in paying the costs of the employee in this particular case, and it's an unlimited tap. So the funding policy and also the fact that there must be limitations on how much an employee amount of legal assistance it can expect, there must be a cap on that. Thirdly and lastly, Honorable Chair, you know, we have, although we are a committee, we also have to be businesslike. We have to look at the costs. Cost is very important. And maybe instead of pursuing this long route, there could have been some settlement, because we're not a hanging committee. We are a committee that is looking at a particular mandate given by Parliament, but we're not there to hang anyone. So in the process, you find that in courts, in all matters of this nature, there's always an opportunity for some sort of a settlement, plea bargain, you call it, the advocates will know much better than me. Because at the end of the time, you have to look at, you know, is it economically and financially viable to continue? And then we know the public protector's term of office comes to an end. So all those things seems to have been missed. You did say that this is a learning curve, and I hope that we can learn lessons from these terrible mistakes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Hendricks, for your input. I don't see any further hand. Perhaps at this stage, as a chair, I'm going to, unless before I do that, there are some clarities Honorable Mola had raised. If you can assist Ms. Fatima Ibrahim on those clarities, and then I will proceed.
Chair, our understanding is that the portion that remains unpaid, so the 74% has been paid and the balance is the disputed amount, and the PPSA is verifying those invoices. That's my understanding. So I don't have a date as to when that will be paid. We have, however, asked them to please keep us appraised.
Okay, I hope that response helps, Honorable Mola.
Yes, Chair. I didn't know that the outstanding amount, actually, there's a dispute around it. So I think it can only be paid when the dispute is settled. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mola. I recognize the public protector.
I think I just wanted to clarify to Mr. Ngola as well that to Honorable Ngola that the amount for July was paid in October. And all the issues were resolved. Or the questions, the queries they had per hour, per page, and all those. Now, another invoice is submitted. Now there's these issues which are raised again. Now they are only paying, in my letter, I'm saying 90% should be paid. Those issues which are queries, it's only 10%, but they've only paid 74%. So hence my issue as well, Chairperson, that the payments, you do that when you receive invoice within a month or 2 weeks. You don't wait until now we have to ask the chairperson to why do we have to ask the chairperson to intervene on such issues? And hence I'm also still saying that the legal team was even prepared to sit with the CEO. The meeting never materialized because we were trying to also possibly they were trying to not bog you with such issues. But unfortunately, then we had to raise the matter. And not to say these things were not happening. I think if you can go back to the recordings, we've always been raising them, that this issue of payment, which is still coming up. And you find that the juniors, they are only focusing on this work. They don't have any other work possibly which they would say they will sustain themselves. So for them to fully be committed to this process, it's very concerning. I think maybe just to add that the issue is a constitutional court right. Actually now we're speaking about costs versus the issue of human rights, because I hear Honorable Hendrik speaking about issues, but Chairperson possibly will address them. And I indicated as well that this frustrates the work of the committee because things should be done quicker. And I think for the portfolio committee should have even questioned the acting PP that you send a legal team, directors of company, you send 3 counsels to different court hearings when you are not a party, but you've paid them. Was it necessary for you to do that if you have concerns and issues of resources? But maybe because before you speak, I don't know whether you wouldn't want to hear any clarity from Advocate Mpofu, who's here. The Sianeho attorneys are not on the platform, but the SC is on the platform to clarify some issues. And I must emphatically state as well that yes, I never gave them an instruction to proceed for now until all these issues are clarified. So I think that should be clear. And not to say the legal team is on strike, Honorable Ngola, but it's so unfair. I mean, really, hence I'm saying, if you can take it back to you, you're receiving your salary every month, you're doing the work, you expect to be paid. This is I think, can you just find it in your heart to just put yourself in their position? I think it's yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Public Protector. Maybe just before I proceed, because I'm going to have to give a guidance at the end, just to continue with you, you might assist me here just on 1 or 2 issues. Firstly, is it normal practice, and you would put your other hat when you were there, that a July invoice will be paid in October? Is it because there is a practice that councils get paid in 90 days? Is it because of that? And the August and September invoices that were not paid in December, again, there is a lot of concern. Are you aware perhaps when those kind of submissions were made for that payment to the PPSA? And lastly, perhaps that's something that you might want to do. It would be important that we do get the Sianaho on the platform. So just have to find a way to get them onto the platform, because when you have a senior counsel, the senior counsel is taken care of by the attorneys on record. So it's important that we deal with that quickly. Can you just assist me just on those very brief issues? In your own understanding, why is this a practice of PPSA?
No, it's
Let me just-
wrong. It's against the PFMA and the prescripts, Chairperson. It's not 90 days. We should pay service providers within 30 working days. Hence, we got the 3 clean audits, because if you check the other comments of the AG in the past years, we were failing to pay service providers within 30 days. So we improved on that. The CFO, the then CFO, and the team managed to make sure that that is done within 30 working days. So the payment of July, the July invoice, which was paid in October, still doesn't comply. And it was also the to and fro, the dagging and diving. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. I'm still new. I need to meet Stole and everyone to clarify the issues. So the current payment, hence I'm saying, when it was placed or they received it on the 6th of December, considering and respecting this committee's work, they should have made sure that clearly they sit, even if it's a whole week, just checking whether everything is on track, call a meeting, sit down with the Sianego to clarify this issue. I mean, I get the message now that actually the Mr. Sianego unfortunately is in another meeting, so couldn't participate. But as he said to the team, I'm willing to be here to clarify. And Ms. Ibrahim, the money which you are referring to, the second tranche, is not paid. It hasn't reached Sianego's account, for your information. But SC can clarify that. The very same money which they told you, it has been paid. So there are 2 portions which are unpaid of the money. So again, that can be clear. But as a Chairperson, I mean, we need to respect the law. We need to, I think, hence I said, as the committee, you should be holding us to account, because that's why when we are audited based on that. That's why we even receive complaints, Honorable Ngola, from service providers. Hence, this is killing SMMEs in government, because if people are not paid within 30 days, then you are killing their business. How then do you expect a person to do the work, and then when come time to pay, and they can't, I mean, they are also doing a service. They cannot do work for free or pro bono. Yeah.
No, thank you, Public Protector. I'm comfortable with your explanations. The further clarity I would have needed would have been from Sianego. At this stage, I would not bother your senior counsel. I see the hand of Honorable Lothrit.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning. And I do ask that I don't switch on my camera due to connectivity problems. Chairperson, at this point, I'm slightly concerned about the direction of this discussion. This is the Section 194 committee. The holding the PP to account falls under the Portfolio Committee of Justice, Constitutional Development and Correctional Services. So I'm not quite sure why this committee is now being addressed in terms of that we have to be considering people not receiving their pay and the period in which payments are made, etc. So if we could just get some clarity exactly, is it within the ambit of this particular committee to intervene in the financial situation within the Public Protector at currently in terms of payments and the duration of when payments are made and so forth? This is really just very concerning for me. Thank you.
No, thank you, Honorable Lothrit. Very fair. To the extent that the payments would have affected the proceedings of this inquiry, as a chair, I would have written a letter to seek clarities as was placed in the committee. But the accountability of the PPSA is not to this committee. This committee has got a simple and focused mandate of the inquiry. It is the Justice Committee. So many of those issues would be flagged, therefore, in that regard, as Honorable Hendricks would have indicated that last week there would have been a meeting with all of these entities, including the PPSA, by the Justice Committee. But your concern is noted. I want to proceed from this point, and I just have a few very brief queries I need to interact with. So, Ms. Fatima Ibrahim, do we have our witness here? Because I will need to give a guidance at the end, but I just need to get that interaction. And if the witness is here, let us please have the witness taking the oath.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, on a separate note, before I do that, I just want to put on the record that we've just received a letter from the CEO of the PPSA, but I'll ask Tim Nkosi to share that letter with members so that we don't engage further on this matter. But perhaps, Chair, you'd want to have a look at it before you determine the directions going forward. I haven't read the content myself yet. Ms. Mvuyana, are you on the platform?
She seems to be muted. You are muted.
Good morning. I'm on the platform.
Good morning, ma'am. Can I please ask you to switch your camera on? Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Mvuyana.
Good morning.
Ma'am, you have been invited, subject to the provisions of Section 16 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act of 2004, to appear before this committee as a witness and to answer questions in respect of the committee's inquiry into the removal of the Public Protector, Advocate Mqwebane. Please be informed that by law, you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or damages. You are, however, protected in that evidence given under oath or affirmation before a House or committee may not be used against you in any court or place outside of Parliament, except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or documents required in these proceedings. Please be aware further that in terms of Section 17(2) of the Powers Act, a person who willfully furnishes a House or committee with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading commits an offence and is liable to a fine or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. You will now be required to take an oath to affirm that the evidence you are about to give is truthful. You may choose to take the oath or the affirmation. Which do you prefer?
The oath.
Okay, may I please ask that you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I swear that the evidence I shall give.
I swear that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Chair, the witness is now duly sworn in.
Thank you, Ms. Ibrahim. Again, good morning, Ms. Bianca Mvuyana. Am I pronouncing it correct?
Good morning, Chair. Yes, you are pronouncing it correctly.
Thank you. You have been subpoenaed to appear before this committee today Wednesday and Thursday. Did you get that correspondence and program?
Yes, but I only know about today. I did not know about Wednesday and Thursday. But it does say until such time as a witness concludes her testimony.
Our planning is that your testimony will be concluded on Thursday. So that's the time when we'll be with you today, Wednesday morning, and Thursday morning. Okay.
Noted, Chair.
Thank you. I just want to get a few very brief clarities from you, and we've made you to take an oath so that whatever you say is on record and is done under oath. You would have been on the public protector's initial list that was provided to this committee on the 24th of August 2022, reflected in the confirmed witness list, and subsequently on the 8th of November 2022. When did you initially confirm to the PP that you'd be prepared to give evidence?
From the beginning stages, I don't recall the exact date, but there was no official confirmation. It was once the list was out, I heard through hearsay that I was a part of the list, and yeah, that was it. I did speak to PP's attorneys and confirm that I would be available if necessary.
Okay. So were you aware that your assistance was required for purposes of consultation?
By the PP's team or the evidence leaders?
Yes.
Yes, I was aware.
Okay. And when did you indicate that you are no longer prepared to do so, if you did?
I believe it was last year where I now decided that I had some reservations due to some other team members that took part in this particular investigation, indicating non-availability. So I did then confirm with Sianago that I would then not be willing to come voluntarily.
So your coming was subject to availability of other team members?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then when did you receive the letter that you were going to be subpoenaed? When did anybody from the PP team contact you for purposes of consulting with you?
The letter that was sent to Parliament was sent to me by Sianago requesting the chair to subpoena me. So that letter, I don't recall the date, it was sometime in January. Mr. Tembangoma also sent me the letter, and then I awaited the subpoena.
Okay. And when did you, in the last week, when in the last week were you contacted for purposes of consultation, and when did you revert back to them?
I was contacted on Tuesday by the PP herself and Sianago. I did not answer the phone, and I then called them back on Thursday, or informed them that I am now available to speak on Thursday, which is when I returned back from work. Yes, sorry, Chair.
Okay. Did you do that only after Ms. Ibrahim had contacted you?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Also, the committee has been informed by Advocate Mpofu that witnesses had been withdrawn from giving evidence on behalf of the PP as a consequence of their names having appeared in court papers. Were you one of those witnesses?
Yes, I was.
Okay. given that the evidence you would give, having agreed to give evidence to the PP, was going to be made public, could you explain on what basis, if that was your reasoning for withdrawing, why it had any material relevance that the witnesses list on which your name appeared?
It was mostly a personal reason, Chair, based on just not being wanting to be exposed to any sort of victimization, any, how would I put it? Just a general protection of the way I'm viewed in the investigating profession. And that was mostly it. It also, there was a thought process that that the Parliament should carry its this mandate that it's been given by the President fairly on its own, and only when it is absolutely necessary can I then be engaged. So from the charge that is that I need to be participating in or answering for, I felt that my contribution would be minimal to all the evidence that would have been led. Thank you.
Okay, just a slight assistance and correction for you. We are a committee of established by Parliament. We are not doing anything on behalf of the President. There's what is called separation of powers. So the President has got his own role to do. This committee we're doing a constitutional duty, just so that you have that on record. Thank you. Okay, colleagues, I will pause there with my interactions and clarities with Ms. Bianca Mvuyana. I think to give guidance going forward, and I'm going to make this rolling. And once I do that, I will hear what honorable members are saying. The time now is almost 11:20. Ms. Bianca Mvuyana has been subpoenaed on behalf of the public protector, and has received that for today. And I've clarified that in terms of our program, she's expected to be with us on Wednesday as well as Thursday, and she has no problems with that. It's very clear that we are not able to proceed today. Ms. Ibrahim, you want to, before I proceed, you want to raise something?
Yes, Chair, I just wanted to remind you of the letter that's come in that we haven't had a chance to look at. I don't think it would impact anything, but perhaps you might want to take a 5-minute or 10-minute adjournment to just look at it.
The letter that has just come from the PPSA. That's fine. I don't mind. We were close to getting tea break, so I'll take a 10-minute tea break, and when we come back, I will be addressing the committee and make a ruling and give guidance in terms of what will happen going forward, having listened to the PP as well as the clarities that have been put on the table. Let's take a short 10-minute break. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
PP, you want to say something before I proceed?
Yes, Chairperson. I think before you take a final decision, in the letter I said your guidance, but as well, I cannot proceed without my legal team. But also there was a stage where you mentioned attorneys, and I said the legal team requested to Advocate Mpofu to be part to represent the process. And I hear there was questions to Ms. Mvuyana about Advocate Mpofu and that. So it was just a question of allowing him to clarify those issues before possibly you reach a conclusion. But I think the most important thing, Chairperson, I think I clarified to Fatima, was that the issue is there were those issues. If they've paid 74%, there's 90%, there's 100%, why not pay the whole amount? And what is critical was that I requested that possibly agently you intervene, you mediate, you call everyone, sit with everyone, let this be clarified, and there's time frames, and we proceed smoothly without any challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Public Protector. I want you to relax. I'm comfortable that whenever I need to get your senior counsel to be on, I will do that. For now, everything that I need is placed here. So, colleagues, this is how we're going to do this. Our program for this week has on Friday the former Deputy Public Protector, Kevin Malunga, coming to testify in front of the committee. So I want to confirm as part of the ruling that that day stands. On Friday, we will be listening to the former Deputy Public Protector, Advocate Kevin Malunga. Coming backwards, we had programmed today, Wednesday morning and Thursday morning, to have Ms. Bianca Mvuyana coming to testify in front of the committee. It is clear that beyond this point, we're not going to have her doing that. I want to confirm that we are going to have Ms. Bianca coming in both on Thursday morning as well as Wednesday morning, and to committee members who might even start earlier. In saying that, therefore, that takes us to today. We were not having any session tomorrow. So what will happen is that immediately as we close this meeting, we are going to follow up on those commitments. The letter also that we've just received speaks about that commitment to follow those through in the next hour to ensure that all of those matters are attended to. And in that regard, the rest of the day, which was supposed to have been a day with Ms. Bianca Mvuyana, we, as well as tomorrow, will be asking the team of the Public Protector to prepare and interact. I've asked her the question, there's readiness from her to interact with this witness, and that one to have the witness Wednesday morning. And from Wednesday morning, whether it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, we will allow the Public Protector legal team to lead with those questions until the rest of that day. And on Thursday, we will give opportunity to the evidence leaders. Members, you're going to be inconvenienced because I am suggesting to you that we will be here in the city hall, that we can conclude Thursday with our questions immediately after the reply by the president. Therefore, our program of the week is not disrupted, but the time that we would have had for interactions is therefore managed in that way. That's the ruling I want to make, kind of going forward. Is there any member who has agreed with that?
Just a question, Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Bhekizwe Ngosi, Honorable Bhekizwe Ngosi.
By that time, will all these issues that are before you from the public protector have been resolved? All of them? Because I foresee that if they're not resolved, we are going to go back to today by that time.
Thank you, Honorable Ngosi. The commitment that has been expressed in writing is that immediately after this meeting, matters that were under dispute will be attended to, and that what is being confirmed is that the substantial amount of payment has been done up to that 74%. Part of the engagement is going to ensure that everything is done, but is done legally and within prescripts. We're not going to force the hand of the PPSA to do things outside of prescripts. We have no power, no mandate to do that. And therefore, the people that have spoken about issues of mediation and negotiations, all of that would be seriously engaged in to do that. But all of that won't be done in a way that overlooks, that turn a blind eye on certain prescripts that must be done. Because we're in an inquiry that even looks at those issues. And so I'm hoping, therefore, Honorable Ngosi, that those matters that are reasonable for them to have been attended, I cannot guarantee with you that things would have been 100%, but we want to ensure that there's commitment, as Honorable Mola was asking. What are the timelines in sorting out these issues? That is key in proceeding in this regard. I don't know if that assists you, Honorable Ngosi.
Thank you, Chairperson. It does. Yeah, I was going to suggest, no, but I was just going to suggest that a possibility of ring fencing no, it's not going to work. So it's operational. It's not our remit. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Anything operational you can raise with the chair offline. Honorable Gondwe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just wanted to request through you that we get a revised program in light of, some of the changes that you've highlighted that we'll be making to the program, so that we get an indication of exactly what time we are starting and ending on each day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Gondwe. Any other member before I go to the public protector? Honorable Sukas.
Chair, I just want to appreciate what you've said in terms of that nothing interrupts the program. I think the biggest commitment here is the commitment of this committee's timeline and the process that we are involved in. I also just want on the record to say that the context in which we are talking about spending on legal fees and all of that, there are millions of South Africans that cannot afford that. We as a committee should be sensitive to that. And as any public official that works within the public sector, we cannot overlook that. And therefore the comments as was made by Honorable Hendricks is very important. The other is that we have said that this is a taximeter that's running in terms of legal cost. And so the process, however, as he has said, we need to be very conscious of that, and it cannot hamper whatever's happening between the PPSA and the legal team, cannot hamper the work of this committee and the commitment that we have that we must fulfill. The lastly, Chair, also in terms of the witness protection, as was brought up by the public protector, I again want to stress, it is not only for the witnesses now that is coming, but the witnesses that has been part of this process before has also suffered indignity. They've also suffered, character assassination. They've suffered all of that. So we also need to stress that. So it is also from the other side for those witnesses that has participated already in this process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Sukas. Public Protector.
Chairperson, I just wanted to indicate to you that I hear you saying the legal team, because they are also listening, be preparing the witness. And hence I was pleading with you that I think if you can just intervene agently, yes, within the prescripts, because work has been done. The legal team won't consult with Bianca until their monies are paid. It's not a protest, Honorable Ngola, but the thing is they can't work when they are not paid. So I think the sooner that happens, the better, because Honorable Nkosi is correct what he's saying. Let's be sure that people are paid, because might come Wednesday or Thursday. I don't have the legal team, and unfortunately, Honorable Hendricks and Honorable the legal representation is a constitutional right which has been provided by the constitutional court. So we will have to also weigh the cost versus the human rights. But I was also saying, is it necessary to go to and fro when work has been done? And I mean, if people can also be paid on time, but I'm just raising that to you, that how serious this is, because they should be paid before they can even consult with Ms. Bianca. Thank you.
Thank you, Public Protector. Just as I sum and conclude, colleagues, is that so that I make that point that Ms. Bianca Mvuyana has been subpoenaed to be here for the time that I've indicated. She has taken the oath. She will not be re-subpoenaed beyond Thursday. So that point is put quite squarely. I think we're going to do everything we can to ensure that there's a very clear process of what has been paid, following what prescripts, and if there are reasons to be given about any outstanding amounts, that will have to be clearly defined, and we're going to assist in that regard. I do, and I think we agree with you, Public Protector. We are not, as the committee, going to change the rules and the prescripts of the payment procedures. That's not our space. But we're going to make sure that we reach out to make sure to ensure that this process is not affected by those issues. So with that, colleagues, if there's no other issue, the time now being 11:45, this committee inquiry is adjourned for today. We will meet on Wednesday. Ms. Sukas, Ms. Gondwe, Honorable Gondwe, will send out by today still the starting time, possibly 9 o'clock on Wednesday, as well as Thursday. I've already asked you members to be flexible, that as we finish the listening to the response of the president, we conclude with our questions as members. There's going to be that the program is going to reflect that. Thank you very much. You have an early day. You might not have budgeted for it, but there's a lot to do. I know Honorable Mola will be on fire on Tuesday. So the meeting adjourned. Thank you.